everybody! So I'm back with another video, and I got a video request asking to learn a little bit more about my abilities. So I've decided to talk about the one I mentioned in my last video, astral projection. Astral projection, for those of you who don't know, is the ability to leave your body and go wandering around. It's sort of like becoming a ghost, except that you get to wake up afterward. So when I was younger, I actually didn't know I was astral projecting when I was. It took me a very, very long time just to notice the ability, and even longer to even remember when I was astral projecting and to actually control where I went. It involved a lot of training to improve my memory of dreams and my control when I'm in those dreams. And I can talk about that in a later video. Now, what I'm going to talk about is how it all started in the beginning for me. I'm sure a lot of you will actually recognize some of the symptoms that I mention, because there's a lot of people who don't realize they have this ability, and yet they use it all the time. They don't know because they don't remember, because who remembers dreams? A lot of people think they don't even dream because they don't remember anything. So if you know anything about what I'm talking about, please put it in the comments below, okay? Because I want to hear about all this stuff, and I may even be able to answer some questions in a following video. Alright, so when I was a little kid, I had a lot of moments where I would recognize something that I swear I'd seen before, and yet that was my first time going there. I remember going to a park. That's right. Yes, it was a park, and I remember being there before, even though that was the first time that everyone said they'd ever brought me. I don't even think I'd ever been to that city before. When I went to Huntington Library in, I forgot where my mom said it was, but you know, if you do a search for it, you'll be able to find it. Anyway, the Huntington Library, it's this expansive property that was owned by a family once upon a time, and it was put into a trust so that people could enjoy all of the different artworks that had been brought there and all the gardens that were planted all over the property. My mom took me there for the very first time just a couple of years ago, and when we went there, even though she was the one who'd already been, I was showing her around. I remembered so much, and the weird part is I remembered them from different dreams. There was the Japanese garden, which I remembered as part of a dreamscape that was stitched together with a whole bunch of different places that were nowhere nearby. It was very weird. And I remembered the cactus garden that they had there. That was actually stitched together with a section of the extended trail at the San Diego Zoo. There's a trail that you can walk up and actually go to the top of the park and see out over all of the big enclosures, Africa and China and all of that. And they were just all stitched together like they belonged. There was also a section of that same dream that was from a school that I went to years after I had this dream. Unfortunately, I don't actually remember the dreams that I had from when I was a kid. I only remember noticing, hey, I've been here before. And when I was a kid, I totally did not believe in this sort of stuff. Psychics were charlatans that were just trying to get your money. They were making up whatever it took to get the money out of your hands. And ghosts were just superstitions. People made them up because there were creaks in their houses that scared them, and they had to find some kind of a reason for it, right? No, I just didn't know. And unfortunately, my dad put a lot of energy in trying to convince my mom she was crazy. I guess they didn't realize that I was listening. So I spent a good part of my life being a skeptic and freaked out by anything that was even slightly paranormal. And it's taken me years to undo that damage. So unfortunately, a lot of the moments that I noticed back then, I did my best to forget. Because when you're convincing yourself that something isn't real, it's really hard to stay in that lie if you can remember that things that don't fit with it. I do remember that there was a part of a dreamscape that for a very, very long time bothered me because it looked similar to a place I'd been before, but it wasn't quite the same. And I knew that it had to be a real place, but I had never been there before. And I have been having dreams that included this area for years and years. I think I started having them when I was 11 or something like that. It's a little hard to place when a dream memory happens. But anyway, it's been a very, very long time, and I only just found out where that was about 7 years ago when I went to college. That was way, way after 11. So apparently it was actually a part of my college campus, Pierce College in Woodland Hills. There was this tree that I remember very, very clearly from the Dreamscape, and it was the exact same tree that you saw as you were entering the college campus from one of the parking lots. A parking lot which I didn't even start using until I'd already been going a couple of months. And the whole area just kind of transitioned into a large open area at the San Diego Wild Animal Park. And yet somehow it made sense that they would be part of the same place, but for some reason, the architecture was completely different. The buildings at Pierce College were modern stucco buildings, and the buildings at the Wild Animal Park were all made of wood to look kind of old and rural and jungle-ish. So somehow it worked in the dream, but it doesn't work in real life. I don't know, but that tree did not exist at the San Diego Wild Animal Park, but it does at Pierce. Nowadays, when I astral project, it's a lot more simple finding out where something came from, because I'm actually able to access information while I'm in the dream to find out, what is this place? Is it real? And where did it come from? Is it something that was made up? Does it exist on the other side? Does it exist here? Is it a place I'm going to end up visiting at some point? I can actually find these things out while I'm having the dream and wondering about what I'm looking at. It's pretty cool, actually. It's hit and miss, though, because there is a lot of information to be had psychically, and I can't process it all. Human brains are really not made for that much information at once. It's just, it's too much. So there's a lot that I can't understand, and I have to live with that. So back before I learned how to decide where I want to go when I was astral projecting, I went to a lot of different places here on Earth. Apparently, I like plants a lot. A lot. Everywhere I've noticed going, there's no people when I go there. There's plants, there's trees, grass, flowers. I see that when I'm in the dream, and when I get there, it's mostly just plants. No actual people. I don't even usually see architecture, which is a little strange because when I went to this big forest area that had trees all over the place, and there, for California, it's a forest area. And there were trees all over the place, and there was grass and rolling hills, and I remember in the dream I'd run down the hill, and then I somehow got back up again. I don't really remember now. It's a very short clip that I remember because it kind of fades at both ends. But point being, when I actually got there, it was a cemetery, and the end of the area that I remember seeing, it actually turned out to be concrete in real life. So I could not perceive beyond the part that was alive. Which is a little bit strange. And here's the weirder part. In the dream, there was absolutely nothing there that wasn't natural. And when I got there, there's these headstones all over the place. There's little plaques where people are buried all over the place. None of that in my dream. All I see is grass in my dream. I guess I really don't like or care about human architecture. I mean, I didn't really before. I can sometimes appreciate it because it is art, and there's a real style, form, and flow that goes into architecture, but when I'm on the other side or just out of my body, I really don't care if it's not alive. Anyway, so when I was able to start taking control of my abilities, I actually started trying to go to the other side on purpose. Now, this was really hard because every time I would try in the beginning, it'd just get really weird on me. I mean, for one thing, it kind of freaked me out to begin with. So, of course, my anxiety level is going up and up and up and up and up. And then something weird would happen, and the feel, I don't know, it just got really creepy. And all of a sudden, my fear level's going way up, and then it just gets real bad real quick. Alright, so it turns out that the other side is very much affected by energy, your emotions. So if you're feeling really scared, scary stuff is gonna happen. It's not actually on purpose. It's not like there's something evil that's coming to get you. It's just you're scared and you're creating scary things. So if you calm down, the scary stuff goes away. And I actually managed to find that out when I managed to calm myself down in a later attempt, and the scary things went away. It's strange the way things work over here, how different it is from over here, but this place, if you've ever seen Star Trek and you saw the one where they go really fast, it's got the Traveler there, and they go to this place where no man has gone before. I think that's the name of the episode. It's exactly how the other side is. Whatever you think, whatever you feel, you create it. And then it's there. So, I've had some really scary, weird, and strange experiences because of this fact, which I can share with you guys in later videos. But the point I really wanted to make was that the thing that really helped me to be able to get to the other side was to stop being afraid of it. Whatever I thought or felt, it very much affected what I experienced. So if I was afraid of something bad happening when I went to the other side, like, and accidentally hurting myself, then it would actually prevent me from going there. I'd go through door after door trying to make one of them get me there, and none of them would. So I had to get comfortable with the idea of actually going there and being successful with it, and everything's copacetic and right as rain, and then I was able to do it. So now I'm able to go over to the other side whenever I feel like it. If I'm having a dream and I'm absolutely bored, or if I go back to sleep and I just feel like doing something fun, I can just decide to go there once a dream starts. Now, I can't really get into the whole idea of bam, you're there. It just does not work for me. I was always a very science-based kind of a person, but I love sci-fi. So after I saw the movie Inception, I got the idea, hey, I'll just create doors that will take me from where I am to where I want to go. And that'll work. Or I can just round a corner. So I got into learning how to terraform dreamscapes, where I would actually create areas where, in my dream, that were out of my sight line, where I could go to then get to the other side. So if I'm out in a backyard and I want to get to the other side, then I can just go through the sliding glass door that I can't actually see through and say, in there is a living room that has a door that will take me to the other side. So I go into the house, there's a door there, and it'll take me to the other side. If I'm in an apartment, I can say, alright, so the front door of the apartment, it's going to take me to the other side. And then I open up the door, and it does. And once I am there, I never really know what I'm going to find over there. I'm not entirely sure what determines what I see when I get there, but I have ended up in all kinds of really crazy places. Like, for example, there's this ginormous multiplex sort of a place, and on the upper floors they have movie theaters. And when I go there, I would see all kinds of different movies playing. I'd just be walking along and I could see a cover for a movie up on a wall. Or I'd see a name of a movie up on the ceiling, hanging from the ceiling, like at a regular movie theater. And it's really cool, but everything is in these ginormous, exaggerated proportions. Because it's the other side, none of it's technically real, so they don't have to worry about materials and structural integrity and logic, you know, whatever they want to make work makes, it just works. So they can have an inverted pyramid that floats, and it totally works. So when I went to these movie theaters, I'd pick a movie, walk in, there's a bunch of people already in there, and I can just start watching the movie. But here's the weird part. When you start watching a movie on the other side, you kind of lose track of where you are because the movie just kind of takes over your reality. So when I'd start watching these movies, I'd get so involved that I wouldn't even notice I'm no longer in a place. I'm surrounded by the movie. It just completely takes up my perception. And it's not so much that it's in front of me or that there's anything behind me. It's very hard to describe, but basically it's playing in your head, but you feel like you're there. And it's just the trippiest thing. So, I've watched all kinds of movies. I've watched romantic movies. I've watched adventure movies. I watched a high school movie, and I can never seem to get past the introduction because I keep waking up. I'll be like a couple minutes in and then I'm awake. Although there was this one time I managed to get all the way to the end of the movie. But technically I didn't. And this is where it gets weird again. Because I'm watching the introduction unfold in front of my eyes, but I can feel the rest of the movie has downloaded into my brain somehow. So I actually know the parts that are coming up. And even though I'm in the middle of the movie playing when I wake up, I still got the whole thing. I can't actually remember what the movie is because, you know, when I woke up it kind of faded. But, I mean, it's really awesome going over there. And people are so friendly. Oh my God. I remember running through this big park area, and there were so many people around, and they were so nice. There were these two women that were walking along, and they were just the nicest people. They were talking to me even though they didn't know me, and it's like, you know, it's like 50s America, except totally for real and no creepy, there's people hating on one another and private stuff going on. You know, because when you're on the other side, you know everybody. Even when you don't know them, you still somehow know them. It just, there's no sense of unfamiliarity there because it's simply not possible. You connect to everything the second you get there. And it's just so great. The loneliness that you feel when you're here is gone. The feelings of being an outcast, you don't have to have those anymore. And they kind of fade while you're there. Even when you come back here and you still feel like an outcast. When you're there, they've just faded away. It's hard to feel fear. There's no hate anywhere. I mean, I remember this one time I was kind of floating above the water going down this little creek area, and there were all these people around. Actually, it was more like a river, but it didn't really flow anywhere. And there were all these people around just hanging out. There was one little island where there were a bunch of friends hanging out. There was like 3 or 4 people who looked like humans, and I've noticed with the number of people who look like humans, that's because I perceive them as humans. Whether or not they were, I have no idea. They just don't really have an opinion right now about what they should look like. And so there were 3 or 4 humans, and then there was this giant blue cat, and there was some kind of an animal sitting on top of his head, much smaller. And I don't actually remember what the animal was, but they were all hanging out as friends. Nobody gave a care that anyone looked at all different, because they were all people. I mean, it's like Star Trek, but better. So, yeah, all the bad stuff that we are stuck in here is gone when you get back there. The only thing that I can think of that would be the least bit awful about the other side is the boredom. Because everything's so easy. You don't have to try at anything. I remember I was bored when before I came to Earth. I was bored. And I got bored a lot over there because, I mean, there's just no challenge to conquer. There's no fight to go through. Not unless you want to invent it, and what's the fun in that? When there's no chance of failure, there's no pride in success. And that's probably part of the reason why we come here a lot of the time. So that's a few things about my astral projection ability and the other side, and I do apologize that my thoughts are a little bit disorganized. I'm having a lot of trouble trying to translate from the language that my abilities are actually in to English, because what they speak on the other side is so much easier to have my abilities in. When I tried to convert into English, I lost the ability to do a lot of the stuff that I can do right now, so I ended up having to convert back. So I'll explain that in another video later. Alright, so thank you very much for listening. Have a great day.